Amidst the city's bustle and neon glow, the frail young Yuji wonders if he's a time traveler. He stared at the mirror as a warning about overworking and early baldness flashes before him. He frantically reacted after seeing the warning. Another warning appears, stating the mirror may shatter if pressed at the bottom right corner, prompting Yuji to check. He realized that focusing on something revealed its secrets, hinting at a golden cheat code for time travel. He hesitated pressing it, his finger hovering an inch from the mirror. Then a man entered to use the sink. Yuji stepped aside, then warned him not to press the mirror's bottom right corner. He walked out of the restroom, leaving the man puzzled. The sound of shattering glass followed by the man's surprised voice confirmed the warning's reliability for Yuji. As he walked past the diners, warning windows popped up. He was happy that the campus queen had confessed her love to an orphan like him, marking their first date today. Yuji's eyes widened at the sight of Hana, his pretty girlfriend. Warning windows appeared as she focused on her. She was a wounded, hungry zombie. Learning this, Yuji quickly dashed off. He was panicking, seemingly fatigued and gasping for air as he stood in front of the shattered mirror. He sees his frightened reflection in his shattered mirror pieces. A warning window appeared, alerting him to immediate danger. It introduced a survival simulator and asked if he was ready to dive in. The window explained the survival simulator's mechanics to what puzzled him. Despite the confusion, he quickly agreed to enter. The window shifted, startling him. The simulation began and revealed that Yuji's girlfriend was a zombie. Panicked, he rushed to the bathroom to call the police. Noticing him, Hana followed, reaching the door just as he hastily dropped the call. Yuji chose to play along and returned to their seats to finish the meal. After leaving the restaurant, she suggested checking into a hotel. He hesitated but agreed. They arrived, booked a room, then met his demise. Yuji dismissed the simulation as unreliable but called the cops anyway. Suddenly, Hana stood ominously behind him as fear crept in. The simulator's prediction might be true. He awkwardly turned to her and tried to come up with excuses. With arms crossed over her chest, Hana said she was there to check up on him since he was gone for too long. Yuji felt so small as he realized that it'll be his end if he can't come up with a proper excuse. Wearing a funny face, he joked that the mirror shattered because of his overwhelming handsomeness. Hana put on a sour face as she retorted. She then held Yuji's hand and pulled him to eat. As they sat at the table, he sighed in relief, realizing it was a close call. Hana cheerfully invited him to dating as she was hungry. Sweat dripped down his face. He nervously realized that every dish she had ordered contained blood. Hana happily munched on a bowl of silky duck blood and urged Yuji to eat. He shook his head, claiming he wasn't hungry. Hana frowned, noting he'd been acting differently since returning from the bathroom. In his mind, Yuji justified his unease. After all, he knew Hana was a zombie. She continued to eat happily. She burped as they left the restaurant, surprising him that zombies burped too. Anxious, he wondered if she was really a zombie that feasted on humans. Hana sighed, then, with a cute look, suggested they check into a hotel for the night. Yuji froze in fear, remembering the simulation's prediction of his death. With a dangerously cute expression, Hana invited him to a hotel. The enemy was too cunning. Yuji nervously realized he'd be dead without the simulation's warning. He checked the window and saw the simulator was on cooldown, prompting him to stall for now. Smiling, he suggested a casual stroll first. Hana excitedly hugged his arms as she agreed. Yuji brought her to the food stalls and invited her to try everything. Holding a bunch of food, Hana joked, "Are you trying to fatten me up and sell me off?" Yuji smirked and replied playfully that he just don't want anyone stealing her away. In reality, he hoped the snacks would fill her up to lower his chances of being eaten. As if being a good boyfriend, he asked Hana to open her mouth so he could feed her. She obediently opened her mouth and cutely munched on the food. Yuji could not resist her cuteness. He extended her hands to squish her. But then Hana threw a sharp gaze, frightening him. She cluelessly asked what was wrong, to which he replied nothing. They wandered through the stalls, Hana happily clutching her food while Yuji followed behind. Finally, the simulator cooled down. It looked nervously at Hana, who was happily eating her skewers. He closed his eyes, contemplating the situation. 3 talent windows appeared, one related to food, another seemingly about seasoning himself as food, and the last, of the IP card. Yuji sighed at these useless talents and proceeded with the simulation. The simulation showed him wandering the streets, treating Hana to food. After eating, she once again suggested booking a hotel. Fearing for his life, he refused. Instead, they agreed to head back to campus by bike. Upon arriving, they'd bid farewell near the school gate, until Yuji suddenly heard her scream for help. Turning back, he saw Hana surrounded by hooligans. Choosing to ignore it, he walked away, only for her to bare her fangs and call him a jerk. He died once again, Yuji whined. She could have easily overpowered the thugs as a zombie. Analyzing the simulation, Yuji realized they had to either avoid the thugs entirely or never attempt to run if they encountered them. He glanced at Hana, wondering if he should continue their dangerous love story, but he steeled his heart, standing firm and ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He closed his eyes as he planned a different approach. This time, he acquired a street brawler talent, filling him with excitement. He stroked his chin and stared at Hana, leaving her confused. She then cutely asked, "Why is Yuji looking at her like that?" With a serious expression, he replied that he was simply curious about a girl's biological structure. Hana seemed even more confused. Yuji then remarked that girls must have 4 stomachs since she was still hungry after eating so much street food. Hana pouted and argued that snacks didn't count as real food. They looked like a cute couple messing around. Yuji patted her head softly and asked that they head back to school. Hana once again wore that cute face of hers, then suggested to not go back tonight. She pulled his shirt and said that there was a hotel nearby. Yuji seemed to not know how to respond. Suddenly, it dawned on him. The hotel wasn't supposed to be open, and it was all a trap. He closed his eyes and smiled. Then he invited Hana to somewhere more exciting. He waved his hands as he happily called for her. Hana's mood changed. Her face became dead serious as she thought that he was no different from those repulsive fools, and that she might as well eat him up. Hana's face darkened as uneasiness crept in instead of joy. But then she was surprised as they arrived at the fun spot Yuji was talking about. He was smiling heartily as he stood in front of an internet cafe, leaving Hana seemingly disappointed. He pointed toward the internet cafe and asked if she had ever been to one before. Hana seemed hopeless, but then Yuji enthusiastically held her hand and pulled her inside. At the front desk of the cafe, they asked the shopkeep to set up 2 machines for them. He suggested going to Zone D3 since they were looking for a quiet place. Hana seemed annoyed, while he looked very happy. The shopkeeper looked puzzled as they prepared to spend the entire night there. Hana was so mad that she wanted to bite someone right now. Yuji then asked her if she was interested in playing a game, to which she replied that she was not playing. He put on his headphones, suggesting she watch him play instead. Yuji played happily, while Hana looked utterly hopeless. She heavily sighed as she turned the other way around. A triumphant look crossed his face as he got through it successfully. Hana was so pissed that she wanted to crush him. Her eyes sharply averted their gaze. Then she stood up to grab something to drink. Hana turned away and left. He panicked as he heard Hana's voice. He went out and followed Hana. Her voice was coming from a narrow, dimly lit alley. Yuji saw a broomstick beside him, picked it up, and broke its end. He gripped his weapon tightly as Hana continued to call for help. Pinned against the wall by a hooligan, she called for his name. From the entrance of the alley, Yuji emerged and commanded that they let the girl go. The thugs glared at him as they encircled the damsel in distress. She seemed touched that Yuji came to save her. A warning window popped up, exposing the scar-faced man as a drug dealer. But Yuji seemed unfazed even after realizing he was up against a real scumbag. 2 of the goons sneered as they stepped toward him, mocking his attempt to play the hero. The goon with rabbit teeth smirked, saying Yuji was just their type. He grew flustered as he realized that the goons were merely puppets under Hana's control. Hana blushed. Who would have thought she had a secret liking for this kind of stuff? Yuji assumed a fighting stance, ready to test his new skill. Rabbit Teeth was surprised Yuji could fight. Before he could react, Yuji's stick sent him to the ground with his mouth foaming. The bald man in a tank top prepared to fight, but was also hit by Yuji's stick directly in the face. Yuji flashily spun his stick as his enemies fell. He struck a menacing pose, making the last thug flinch as he reached into his shirt. It was a knife. Hana's eyes were full of anticipation. The thug twirled his knife with flashy moves, trying to intimidate him, who remained unimpressed. The thug leaped and howled in agony as Yuji's kick landed squarely on his groin. His future family plans just got scrambled, and the man clutched his broken crown jewels. He finally faced Scarface, then effortlessly struck the back of his head, sending him crashing to the ground. Hana was delighted that Yuji had saved her. Yuji tapped her head playfully, and she puffed her cheeks before whining cutely. But he then immediately turned away, confusing Hana. He winced, muttering about her steel skull, while Hana trailed behind happily. He whipped out his phone, then she asked if she could peek at his chat history. Yuji playfully raised his hand and challenged the short Hana to grab it. Hana proceeded with his cute attempt to snatch the phone. She jumped and wrapped her legs around Yuji's hips as she tried to grab the phone. They were flustered as they realized the awkward position they had gotten themselves into. Yuji sighed, handing over his phone as Hana took it reluctantly. Both of them blushed as Yuji said he was just messing with Hana earlier and allowed her to explore his phone. She smiled at this gesture of him. Scratching his head, Yuji closed his eyes and initiated another simulation. 3 talents appeared, never getting empty clamshells, making clean cuts in one strike, and having an unbreakable charging cable. He chuckled at how oddly practical they were. According to the simulation, the cops arrived after they handled the thugs. He reported the drug dealer's identity, and he and Hana were taken in as key witnesses. However, during the bumpy ride, he accidentally leaned toward a policewoman, causing Hana to mistake him for a pervert. The simulation ended in his death once again. Yuji frustratedly cried, feeling hopeless over the repeated tragic outcomes. She looked up and asked what was wrong, but her cuteness was too much for him. Shaking his head, he reminded himself it was all just an illusion. He then asked for his phone back, knowing the cops would arrive soon. Hana teasingly asked if he had wiped his phone clean, noting the absence of any female contacts besides family. Yuji boasted that he was waiting for her. After all, she wouldn't stand a chance if he had other women around. He pinched her cheeks playfully, prompting Hana to retaliate, but he caught her hands and placed them against his face with a smile. She was flustered at his gesture. Changing the topic, Yuji reminded her they had unfinished business. He knocked out the unconscious thugs again, ensuring none would escape. Checking his phone afterward, he was relieved Hana hadn't snooped through his browser history. It would have been the end for him. Just then, a beep was heard, and 2 police cars arrived. One of the police stepped forward, asking if they were the ones who called. Yuji stared at the woman, amused that Hana was seriously jealous of someone her age. He explained everything to the cops, while one officer was surprised that Yuji had taken them down alone. He admitted he used a stick and let them check the scene while they took notes. The woman confirmed their accounts, noting one thug had taken a severe hit below the belt. Another officer asked them to wait, and Yuji took the chance to initiate another simulation. 3 windows then popped up and granted him 5 extra attempts, as well as mastery in throwing talent. He groaned, holding Hana's shoulders, whining about spending the night at the station on their first date. Hana blushed, pouting as she realized it really was their first date. The police confirmed Yuji and Hana's innocence and appreciated the lead that he provided. However, they still needed an official statement at the station. Yuji hesitated, fearing the simulation's outcome might come true. He refused and asked to give their statements tomorrow instead. The policewoman agreed and took their IDs and contact information. As the police drove off, Yuji realized the importance of carrying an ID for hotel check-ins and other situations. Meanwhile, Hana had fallen asleep while crouched against the wall. He secretly snapped a photo, finding her sleeping form absolutely adorable. Leaning in, he whispered softly to wake her. Hana stirred, blinking sleepily as Yuji cheered. Seeing his face too close, she blushed again. Yuji announced they were done here and needed to wrap things up. He then told her that they were booking a hotel room his treat. Hana seemed disappointed when he asked her to book a hotel room. She hesitated. Was she really going to devour him? She followed silently, debating whether to knock him out and escape or take a tiny sip of his blood. Yuji noticed her silence and reassured her that she just had to follow his lead. Embarrassed, Hana insisted she wasn't afraid. A sleepy hotel receptionist greeted them. Yuji suggested staying somewhere nice since it was their first date, making Hana blush. She shyly agreed, but he was broke and shamelessly asked her to cover the cost. Hana was surprised. She sighed and said she'll cover it this time. Yuji exclaimed and immediately ordered 2 luxurious king-size rooms. The overall cost was 656 yuan, surprising Hana. At their rooms, Yuji happily bid her goodnight and shut his door, leaving Hana outside, fuming and pissed. She entered into her room, then jumped onto the bed and buried her face in the pillow. Frustrated, she threw it at the wall. She sighed, annoyed that she hadn't taken him down. Meanwhile, Yuji lay in bed, admiring a sleeping photo of Hana he had taken earlier. He sighed. Knowing his crisis was far from over, he started another simulation. 3 talents appeared: mastery of expressions, dexterous hands, and having a feline friend. He chose dexterous hands. The simulation showed Hana sneaking into his room to observe him. Before she acted, a woman from the Bureau of Anomalous Management would appear, exposing Hana as a zombie. Mistaking Yuji for being under her control, she would pin him down. Hana would then barge in and misunderstand the scene. She will attack the woman as Yuji tries to escape, but before he could get away, he'll be discovered by Hana, ultimately leading to his death. Yuji finds this simulation nonsensical. He was mad that even little events always lead to exaggerated endings. He contemplated the things he must avoid, like Hana's misunderstanding and his attempt of slipping away. Yuji laid in bed, frustrated that he can't do anything as the commotion ensued. He held his phone, then ran more simulations. Each one of these simulations ended in his demise. He realized Hana would only regain composure if she personally killed him. What kind of grudge was this? Just as he lost hope, a new talent appeared, having his heart on the right side. With this, he can finally avoid certain death. He resolved himself, ready to face Hana once again. A window popped up as he started another simulation. This time, Hana would stab him but would flee when the Demon Bureau arrived and took him. Thanks to his new talent, he would survive. The simulation was successful and rewarded him with 5 more attempts. Finally, there's a way out for him. With this, he reviewed his growing list of talents, finally seeing a way to survive. While Yuji was on his phone, he heard a beep at the door. He opened it and received his delivery from the hotel staff, a fresh set of clothes to replace his messy ones. After changing, he lay back in bed and decided to run more simulations. He gained a new talent, Bludgeon, allowing him to stun enemies with a sneak attack. In the simulation, Hana finally left while he was taken to the Demon Bureau. It was a success, earning him 5 extra simulation attempts. Realizing overthinking was pointless, he decided to follow the plan and sleep. At midnight, Yuji slept soundly. Meanwhile, Hana had sneaked into his room and silently observed him. She poked his cheek to check if he was truly asleep, then climbed onto the bed, sitting beside him. Yuji remained still, his neck exposed like vulnerable prey. Hana blushed at the sight. Suddenly, he moved, hugging her left leg in his sleep. Flustered, she frantically called out, but he remained asleep. Struggling, she finally freed herself and got out of bed. Just as she walked away, knocking came from the door. Anticipating this, Yuji opened his eyes, got up, and prepared to answer. Outside stood Suzu, a short-haired girl in a crisp uniform with a sword on her back. Yuji opened the door but quickly dismissed her, saying he didn't need special services. Suzu was annoyed. She knocked loudly this time. When Yuji opened the door, equally irritated, he told her he wasn't buying anything. Before he could close it, she blocked it with her foot. Suzu clarified that she was with the Demon Bureau and was in the middle of an investigation. Yuji stared at her credentials, then shut the door again, calling her a cosplayer. Losing her patience, Suzu kicked the door hard. The noise reached Hana in the next room. Curious, she stepped out and saw Suzu furiously demanding Yuji to open up. Suzu kicked again, forcing the door open and frightening Yuji. Hana recognized Suzu, while the latter recognized her as well while Yuji was panicking. Hana's eyes glowed crimson as she bared her fangs, her sharp claws protruding. Suzu immediately drew her sword. Hana lunged, but Suzu blocked with her blade. Yuji tried to intervene, but both girls told him to back off. Deciding not to argue, he pulled his stuff toward the door and sneaked away. Suzu's eyes burned with intensity. Then she unleashed a flurry of sword strikes. Hana, however, looked heartbroken by him running away. She muttered that they all deserved to die, but Yuji hadn't actually fled. He returned to help Hana. Hana turned, startled, while Suzu noticed her aura weaken. Then Yuji threw a bottle of glutinous rice. Suzu slashed at midair, releasing a foul stench. She gagged, now covered in the sticky rice. Furious, she demanded to know what Yuji was doing. He simply told her not to hurt Hana, shocking them both. Some rice splashed on Hana's face. She looked hurt but knew Yuji was unaware she was a zombie. Holding a can, he pressed the elevator button. He covered his nose as he opened the can. He then tossed it. With a villainous grin, he declared it was time for the world to suffer. As the elevator doors closed, the can's revolting contents spilled onto the floor. The smell was so unbearable that Suzu and Hana stopped fighting and agreed to run away. In the lobby, the hotel receptionist watched the situation unfold on the security cameras. Yuji arrived on the ground floor via elevator. The receptionist, worried, asked what was happening. Yuji assured them it was fine for now but warned they needed to evacuate before those 2 upstairs jumped down. The receptionist was in disbelief but Yuji walked away, only leaving a warning. Glass shattered as Hana and Suzu leaped out the window, landing right in front of Yuji. Hana told him to come with her, but Suzu swung her sword, refusing to let her hunt humans. Grabbing Yuji by the collar, Suzu insisted he stick with her to survive. She ran off carrying him, leaving Hana enraged. Her eyes glowed red as she demanded Suzu return Yuji. As Suzu carried him, Yuji tried to explain the misunderstanding. Suzu was pissed. Thinking he was bewitched, she unleashed a hand chop on his neck. His vision blurred before he collapsed. Suzu stood tall, sword in hand, exuding menace. Seeing Yuji hurt, Hana was enraged, triggered her memories of a lost loved one. Her aura changed as she went berserk, horns and claws emerging, tears streaming from bloodshot eyes. She lunged at Suzu, who swung her sword in response. Hana had her clothes torn but was unfazed. She attacked Suzu, to which the latter was able to block. But Hana was in an unstoppable rage. She unleashed a flurry of slashes, pushing Suzu back. Gasping, Suzu acknowledged Hana's strength. Hana was exuding immense energy as she stood still. Only under rare conditions would someone lose control, making Hana's state alarming. She released sharp energy waves, effortlessly destroying the hotel they had just left, causing mass panic. The receptionist, grateful for their timely escape, looked back in shock. Hana charged again, aiming for Suzu's face, to which she blocked with her sword. But Hana couldn't be bothered. She unleashed an overwhelming attack that shattered her sword. Suzu fell as Hana loomed over her, energy surging in her raised hand for a final attack. Suddenly, a bolt of energy blitzed through and struck Hana's back. It was from a white fox named Foxy, who sighed about being late again. Suzu, struggling to stand, asked if Foxy hadn't left with the old master. Foxy revealed a jade plate, revealing that she was sent by the old master to stop the fight. At its sight, Hana winced in pain. Foxy warned that if left berserk, Hana would destroy the city. Suzu asked how to wake her up. Foxy said that knocking her out should do the trick, but admitted it was impossible at their current level. Suzu disagreed and said that Foxy can do it, but the fox insisted on saying no. Hana attacked again, slashing with cutting energy. Both Suzu and Foxy were sent flying, stunned by her increased power. Then, to their surprise, Yuji stood before them, holding a toy hammer. Grinning, he raised it and struck a pose, activating his talent, Bludgeon. Suzu was baffled, questioning what he was doing with that toy. As Hana charged, the hammer grew massive, crackling with electricity. The berserk Hana turned to her, then immediately leaped. Yuji swung it, striking her head. For a while, it seemed that his attack didn't work. Foxy was flabbergasted with Yuji's boldness. Hana saw stars after Yuji's hit, then collapsed into his arms. Suzu and Foxy were stunned, asking how he knocked her out so easily. As Suzu checked on Hana, Foxy examined Yuji's hammer. Spotting an opening, Yuji smacked Suzu on the head. She dropped unconscious. Foxy gawked, while Yuji grinned as he said it was payback for earlier. Hana stirred, but Yuji knocked her out again before she could fully wake. Now slumped against a wall, she was out cold. He turned to Foxy, who eyed him warily. He raised his hammer, saying he will pass out from overusing his powers. Before Foxy could respond, he foolishly hit himself in the head, dropping him cold to the ground. Foxy exclaimed as she realized she was just here to clean up the mess. Moments later, Hana woke up. She turned to Foxy, asking what happened. Nervous, Foxy explained that she had gone berserk. Hana tensed, worried Yuji had gotten caught in her rampage. Foxy assured her he was fine, just exhausted from using his powers to bring her back. She then asked if Yuji wasn't the prey Hana had chosen. Hana dismissed the question, lifting Yuji in her arms. Foxy objected, saying she couldn't just take him away. Hana's glare made her flinch as she hurriedly added it was the old man's order. Tossing Hana the jade plate, she explained that once its mysteries were unraveled, she could take Yuji. Hana examined it, then warned Foxy to tell the old man she'd destroy his temple if he double-crossed her. She then handed Foxy a fang-like talisman, instructing her to give it to Yuji and take care of him. Foxy stared at it, while Hana added that she'll take her down in case of non-compliance. The fox was left, puzzled by Hana's unusual concern. As Hana left, Yuji suddenly picked up the talisman, surprising the white fox. She asked if she hadn't passed out the whole time. Yuji shrugged, saying it wasn't strange to wake up after passing out. But Foxy was skeptical, thinking he woke up precisely at the perfect moment. Yuji then asked her not to tell Suzu that he woke up. Without warning, he hit himself again. Foxy caught him mid-fall, groaning that Hana would kill her if he got hurt. Shortly after, Suzu woke up coughing. Noticing Hana was gone, she asked what happened. Foxy explained that she had left by the old master's decision. Suzu sighed, remarking that Hana only ever listened to him. Then she noticed Yuji unconscious and wondered if he had knocked her out. Foxy nervously made excuses, saying he had just awakened his powers and passed out from overuse. Annoyed but determined, Suzu decided to take Yuji to the Demon Bureau. She carried him to the car. Meanwhile, in a luxurious and fancy building, two elderly men sipped tea as the one in a kimono noted that Hana was finally breaking free from her past curse. The scar-faced man disagreed, doubting Yuji was a good match for her. The kimonoed elder chuckled, revealing he had done some fortune-telling on Yuji, only to find he couldn't see his future. Intrigued, he ordered Yuji to be taken to the Demon Bureau. Later, at the bureau, Suzu tried persuading Yuji to join. Sitting arrogantly, he pointed out that such organizations were supposed to be secret. Suzu clarified that they were a transparent government agency, only hiding from the average citizen. She also revealed that they had the most extensive cultivation knowledge and resources in all of China. Yuji smirked. If joining meant growing stronger, then he was in. Yuji carefully flipped through the contract and scanned each page. His main priority was growing stronger and unraveling the world's many secrets. But before finalizing anything, he needed answers to a few important questions Suzu encouraged him to ask, to which he immediately inquired about compensation and benefits. Suzu was surprised as she hadn't expected him to be concerned with such material matters. Yuji only responded with a mischievous expression, unfazed by her reaction. Frustrated, Suzu slammed her hands on the table, then demanded to know if he was serious about signing. To her shock, he revealed that he had already signed the contract. Observing the exchange, Foxy noted that karma had finally caught up with her. After the contract signing, she told him that he was free to go. Suzu gave Yuji an ID and told him to report the next morning for his task. She then told Foxy to give Yuji a proper introduction to the supernatural world. Suzu then tossed some papers at Foxy, assigning a 100k word self-reflection essay for wrecking the base's system last time. Foxy protested, calling the task unreasonable and not a novel contest. Unmoved, Suzu revealed a fang-shaped talisman, subtly threatening Foxy into complying. The enraged Fox leaped, demanding her to give the talisman back. Suzu was trying to reason out when Foxy swiftly stole the talisman. She put on a mocking expression, then held it in triumph as she asked Suzu what she's got. She was stunned and questioned how she had managed to take it so effortlessly. As Yuji observed their antics, he absent-mindedly examined the talisman Hana had given him, realizing its significance. Meanwhile, Foxy perched on his shoulder, still teasing Suzu as she motioned for them to leave. Before stepping out, Yuji hesitated and turned back to Suzu. She asked what's the matter. He pointed out that her uniform smelled distinctly fishy. Suzu sniffed, checking for herself. Realizing that she indeed smells bad, she became visibly embarrassed and blamed Yuji. Yuji and Foxy then left, with the mischievous Fox laughing in mockery of Suzu. The two eventually arrived at the Gyakuo City First Animal Hospital. Curious, he asked Foxy if she was from the cat clan. Offended, Foxy retorted and compared him and his family to mice. But before Yuji could respond, another voice interrupted. A mouse-like girl with an unusual hairstyle overheard Foxy and demanded an apology. He and Foxy stood face to face against the mouse girl. Upon closer inspection, Yuji noticed she was an ostrich mouse who wrongly thought she was just an ordinary mouse. He found her rather unique. Foxy, unimpressed, coldly dismissed the girl and told her to leave. The mouse girl was intimidated. Yuji noted Foxy's knack for intimidation as the girl fled in tears. Yuji examined Foxy, triggering a window that revealed her as a mysterious, intelligent creature. She wasn't just a talking fox, but a legendary Z-beast possessing a vast arsenal of mysterious abilities. Perplexed, Yuji wondered what the old man had in mind when entrusting Foxy to him. As they continued walking, Yuji found himself among a crowd at a pedestrian crossing. Uneasy, Yuji listened as Foxy assured him she was invisible, making it seem like he was just on a call. At the sight of yesterday's confrontation, everything was normal. Foxy said memories were likely erased. Yuji thought that he was the only one who still recalled what had happened. Eventually, they reached Yuji's hotel room. As soon as he entered, he collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. Foxy noticed something beside her and asked what it was, but Yuji, too tired to explain, simply told her not to touch it before drifting into sleep. Moments later, a frantic cry jolted him awake. Foxy was tangled in a mess of yarn, unable to break free. Yuji, cutting the strands in disbelief, wondered how she could destroy buildings yet struggle with mere wire. Frustrated, Foxy insisted she didn't want to ruin it, or there'd be nothing left to play with. Yawning, he poked at Foxy's feline predicament before suggesting they eat. Suddenly, Yuji was alarmed. Multiple warning windows then popped up, indicative of an imminent danger looming over him. Yuji was baffled by the sudden warnings, realizing he was once again in danger. Foxy noticed and asked him what was wrong. Yuji apologized as he asked for her to hang on a second. He then closed his eyes and began the simulation. He saw that after getting food, an invisible attack came out of nowhere and hurt Foxy, ultimately leading to both their deaths. He asked why did it have to end like this. He began analyzing the simulation but couldn't seem to connect the clues. Checking the map, he identified two suspicious spots along their route. He also noticed that both exits were completely closed along the route back and forth. He then realized that the danger must have emerged after they departed the barbecue joint. Foxy casually mentioned the BBQ place was run by a bird spirit. Yuji asked if they knew each other, to which she replied yes. Yuji dismissed the BBQ owner as unrelated to the attack. A talent window appeared, granting him a concealed blade ability, cheering him up with its incredible function. He then ran another simulation. This time, upon entering the alley, a powerful cursed entity killed them, resulting in another failure. Realizing it was an anomaly beyond Foxy's abilities, Yuji turned to Foxy. He then asked her about phantom relics, to which she explained that field agents handled them. Yuji concluded that field agents are the one who deals with supernatural anomalies. Foxy described anomalies as untouchable cosmic beings, causing destruction and harm. She also mentioned that one must either stand firm or flee when facing an anomaly. Yuji was surprised standing one's ground was even an option, assuming the entities were invincible. Foxy then revealed that fighting them required anchoring. She explained that anchoring made entities observable, revealing their true form. He then deduced that Foxy and Hana were anchored anomalies, with anchoring akin to revealing their health bar. Foxy said he was right, but confidently said that only a genius like her could pull it off. Yuji seemed skeptical about her boastful claim, so Foxy whipped out her brush and paper to provide a demonstration. As she began anchoring, she explained that entities may be untouchable, but they leave traces in the environment. In no time, she finished her quick drawing of Yuji and revealed it. Yuji seemed to be sarcastic as he praised Foxy's drawing. She explained that anomalies must be witnessed to be anchored, with modern technology aiding the process. She inquired about a tracking network for relics, which she confirmed, though she found his sudden interest suspicious. Denying any her suspicions, Yuji closed his eyes to initiate simulations. Windows popped up. Then 3 simulations were run, 2 of them failed, but one earned him extra attempts. Determined, he invited Foxy to eat and snag an anomaly on the way. Foxy asked about the anomaly's location and the contents of Yuji's bag, but he only smirked, refusing to answer. Calling him childish, she followed him to a dimly lit alley. As they stood in front of the sinister alley, Foxy sensed nothing unusual. Checking the time on his phone, Yuji knew trouble was near. He instructed her to set a mousetrap on top of the lightbox. Foxy seemed skeptical about this. Yuji whipped out a roll of tape, then scattered random objects around. Confused, Foxy asked if he was tracking the anomaly with random objects. Dropping a squeaky toy, he urged her to stay quiet and move quickly. She whined, doubting the objects would help against the cursed entity. Yuji ominously looked forward, saying that the time had come. Until now, Foxy was still clueless of what was going on. Then Yuji extended his hands and pointed forward. An ominous and evil energy was emitted from the dark alley, frightening Foxy as she backed off and shrieked. He and Foxy stood frozen as an ominous entity emerged from the alley. But Yuji quickly pulled out a remote-controlled toy truck, then attached a stuffed toy that looked suspiciously like her. Outraged, Foxy accused him of mocking her, but Yuji insisted it was a coincidence. Controlling the truck, he sent it into the alley, where it was instantly torn apart along with the stuffed toy. Foxy then realized Yuji was deducing the creature's shape from the destroyed objects. He continued to sketch, revealing that he's close to anchoring this mysterious creature for good. When he finished, the drawing revealed a black, furry cat licking its paws. Foxy was surprised that Yuji finished it easily. Meanwhile, Suzu lay on her couch, whining and exhausted from hunting monsters. Her phone rang. It was Yuji calling. She lazily picked it up and answered, only to jolt upright upon learning they had encountered a cursed entity. Hearing that Yuji had already sketched out the creature's form, she offered to post it on the Anchor network. She was curious about its likeness. Suzu opened up a message from Yuji. Baffled, Suzu stared at the creature's sketch. Anchoring usually required a team, yet Yuji did it alone. Suzu then got inside her car and hurried over. Back at the alley, Yuji took note of this as Suzu said they'll be ready in no time. Meanwhile, Foxy was still trying to process Yuji's accuracy. Skeptical, she asked him if he really deduced that, to which he confidently confirmed. As he moved forward, she panicked, warning him that the entity was a territorial beast. Yuji was unfazed and continued to walk. Foxy said she'll have to answer to Hana if something bad happened to him, but he simply reassured her that he's not going to die. As Yuji peered into the dark alley, a spirit emerged. Foxy explained that anchoring relied on spiritual strength, shaping the entity's form to match the practitioner's vision. Gradually, the creature materialized. It was exactly as Yuji had sketched, a black, furry fox. Foxy asked why the creature wasn't moving. Just then, Suzu arrived, explaining that they hadn't completed the third step, naming the entity. Foxy asked if any name would work and playfully suggested, Super Invincible Crystal Claw Black-Furred Big Cat. Suzu shrugged, saying it was fine but warned that naming was important. No entity would want to be called a tiny, ugly troublemaking little mouse, which offended Foxy. Suzu watched in disbelief as the once unruly Foxy now obediently listened to Yuji. Stroking his chin, Yuji named the entity Shadow Knight Spirit Cat, triggering its rage as it unleashed a surge of energy. Suzu raised her sword, warning that it would regain mobility after being named. She charged forward, but accidentally stepped on a squeaky toy. The squeaky toy roared, startling the black cat. It stumbled, knocking over a bottle of water. Surprised, it dashed away quickly, but then tripped over a wire, causing chaos. As the smoke of chaos cleared, the cat was tangled in the wire. Amazed, Foxy realized Yuji had planned everything. Yuji boasted that he indeed planned it all out. Foxy looked up, only to spot more traps above, leaving her smiling helplessly. The entity moved cautiously but tripped on a stick. Startled, it leaped, landing face first onto a mouse trap on the lightbox. The black cat tumbled, struggling to remove the trap. Foxy and Suzu stood frozen, amazed at Yuji's precise traps, calling him a prodigy. Yuji checked his talent window, revealing his ability, the stealthy shadow, but as he was standing, Yuji seemed vulnerable with his back exposed. Foxy told him to watch out and warned him that cursed entities could still harm him even being invisible. Suddenly, Yuji's image glitched. Suzu couldn't believe what she saw. Yuji raised his wooden bat, striking the entity's face and knocking it out. Holding the unconscious creature, he asked what to do next. Surprised, Suzu said bureau agents were en route with containment devices. While waiting, Yuji played on his phone, catching Foxy's interest. She wanted to try but was holding the entity. She tossed it to Suzu, then grabbed the phone as Yuji cheered her on. Suzu, now carrying the black cat, whined about Foxy's attitude. Meanwhile, agents Kao and Zhao got an earful from Suzu for being late. Arriving at the alley, Kao peeked out, then opened the door. Zhao said Suzu and Foxy always clashed. Suzu, annoyed, told them to hurry. Kao, bringing the restraint device, made an excuse about traffic, but Suzu didn't buy it. Zhao said they'd have taken the special route if it were urgent. He introduced himself to Yuji as a room master and Kao as a formation master. He shook their hands, then asked how to capture demons. Kao stared at Foxy, making her uncomfortable. Yuji picked her up like a kid and asked for understanding. Kao activated the restraint device, sealing the black cat inside. He boasted that it looked shabby but was expertly crafted with formations to discipline even stubborn creatures. It could shrink monsters' size and power, and has the capability to suppress anomalies and practitioners. Yuji thought of Hana, wondering if it could restrain cultivators. He then raised his hands on the air and explained the mechanism of the device. Zhao told Yuji to hop in the car, calling it a chance to experience the Bureau's new ride. Foxy perched on Yuji's shoulder, urging him to move. They arrived at the Bureau's garage, filled with private vehicles. Inside, a Catwoman and a suited man greeted them. Kao bragged that Gaokaio City base was the strongest, despite not being the biggest. Zhao chimed in, mentioning their responsibility of maintaining the resources their base have. He also added that small bases were often valued for what lay beneath them. Yuji admired the place as they toured. In no time, they got out of the car. They finally arrived at the 5 Action Squad's living quarters. Team 1 was the Powerhouse, an elite demon suppression unit. Team 2 patrolled the mountain. Team 4 handled supernatural disputes. Team 5 managed base defense and crafted gear. Zhao said Team 3 was a jack of all trades, handling all sorts of incidents. Suzu opened the door, saying Yuji was supposed to start tomorrow, but might as well begin now. Excited, Yuji asked if that meant extra pay. Suzu smirked, saying he could, if he was still standing after the onboarding paperwork. Suzu smirked and invited Yuji to the training grounds. In the gym, Yuji hopped on the treadmill. Suzu set the speed to 999 for the stamina and speed test. It was too fast that Yuji struggled. Disappointed, Suzu noted that there's nothing special about his stats as he collapsed. Suzu smirked and mentioned more tests as Yuji realized she was out for revenge. She suggested a combat test first, since the mental test was too draining. Yuji agreed to start with the battle test. Kao, Zhao, and Foxy watched from a monitor, impressed that Yuji accepted a fight with Suzu. Foxy noted his skills and said he might have a chance of taking down Suzu. She also added that losing doesn't matter since he was just an ordinary person before. Suzu offered a simulated or open field fight. Yuji chose the simulation. Suzu grabbed her sword and asked what weapon he needed. Yuji asked for bricks. She was confused, so he just asked for a sword this time. Suzu tossed in a wooden sword. The fight began as Suzu charged forward. Yuji turned and ran. Suzu yelled, surprised with his seemingly cowardice move. Suddenly, brick flew at her head, but she was able to dodge. Another brick came flying. She slashed it, but debris hit her face. Yuji seized this opportunity and dashed in, while her eyes stayed closed. Still, she countered and disarmed him, confidently smirking as she deemed it hopeless for him. But 3 bricks flew again and hit her face. Yuji raised his hand to throw another, but she blocked with her sword. However, he hit her hand instead, making her drop her weapon. Kao, Zhao, and Foxy admired Yuji's strategy. He toyed with Suzu, throwing a brick in a sardine can. Furious, she unleashed a devastating kick as she furiously called it enough. She stood tall as she declared her loss, making Yuji feel like it was truly his defeat. She went off to change clothes and called for Mumu to prepare the next test. Mumu immediately complied. She stood before Yuji, masked, and introduced herself as a mouse spirit who controlled plants. Yuji recognized her as the one from yesterday. Flustered, Mumu pointed out his superhuman vision, being able to recognize her even when she dressed up. She then followed behind and expressed her admiration to Yuji for troubling Suzu. She asked him to teach her so she could also beat up Suzu, forgetting the cameras. Watching, Suzu was speechless as she continued to ramble about beating her up. She pressed a button saying she'd spar with Mumu. The mouse panicked. Yuji chuckled, assuring Suzu wouldn't kill her. Mumu still worried as they entered the mental test room. Inside, Yuji saw a device that resembled an electric chair. Anxiety crept in as he hissed. Mumu teased him as she agreed that it indeed looks like an electric chair. Foxy bursted laughing and excitedly called for torture tools. Suzu sighed, disappointed, and ordered a redesign for the device. Yuji found himself strapped in, frantically asking Mumu if this was a willpower test. Mumu smirked, explaining it triggers illusions. Yuji seemingly hopeless. Mumu asked him how he felt as she pulled the switch. Yuji said he could manage. Mumu warned him about nausea and increased the power, while Yuji gave a thumbs up in return. She pushed the joystick to start the test. Whipping out her phone, she started recording while expecting him to do something embarrassing. In Yuji's mind, a thin light appeared. Reaching for it, he entered a void filled with tiny light fragments. A bright light flashed, revealing his parents. Suddenly, a hand grabbed him from behind. It was Hana in a wedding dress, angrily asking if he was backing out of the wedding. Yuji was flustered by what he's seeing. A warning window then popped up as Yuji wondered if she still planned to devour him after marriage. The simulation showed them married, reminiscing on their honeymoon. Hana got pregnant and Yuji lifted her in joy, only to be scolded by his parents. Soon, they had a healthy baby boy, living in happiness. Then, an ominous silhouette appeared. A golden light engulfed everything as Yuji searched for his parents. He then found himself in a desolate place. Zombies roaming around with lots of corpses scattered on the ground. Suddenly, something sharp stabbed him from behind. He died, and Hana held him in her arms as she desperately grieved. Next, he saw Hana and their kids welcoming him warmly. She gave him a warm and tight hug, before he found himself alone in the void again. While Yuji sat in the chair, his talisman from Hana glowed. Meanwhile, in a remote place, Hana blushed while meditating. Turns out, she can see Yuji's thoughts and was embarrassed by it, but her expression turned serious, recalling the ominous cloaked silhouette Yuji saw. Yuji woke up, speechless as he removed the device. Mumu was shocked. His mental strength score was 10 times the average. However, she sighed in disappointment. Yuji asked why. Turns out, Mumu failed to record anything embarrassing since he looked half asleep the entire time. She showed the recording while Yuji was uneasy as he realized she aimed for his secrets. Suzu was surprised and commended Yuji for scoring 1,300 in mental fortitude. She praised his mental resilience and introduced the special skills test, asking about his unique talents. Confidently, Yuji revealed his sucker punch mastery and the ability Suzu suspected. Suzu asked if it was that one, referring to his foresight. Yuji said it was his ability to finish her routine in 30 seconds flat. Annoyed, Suzu balled her fist and punched the heavy bag beside her. Yuji reassured her, confirming she was right about his foresight. Suzu admitted something felt off during their fight. Everything unfolded as Yuji predicted. He clarified that it wasn't exactly foresight, but a skill that only activates in life-threatening situations. Then, he dropped a shocking prediction. Mumu was about to suffer a serious injury, frightening the poor mouse. Yuji then told everyone that none of them would want their embarrassing past exposed publicly. He pointed at the dynamometer and revealed that it had been secretly rigged with a hidden pinhole camera to record mental test videos, set up by an anonymous little mouse. As Yuji spoke, Mumu tried to sneak away, which pissed everyone off. Later, a poster of Yuji being awarded for successfully cracking a mysterious case using his foresight was displayed. On her phone, Hana looked at the poster and finally understood how Yuji had prepared for the hotel confrontation. Suddenly, a roar came from behind the bushes. Then a humongous bear appeared, its bloodshot eyes and protruding fangs aimed at Hana's back. Without hesitation, Hana exuded an immense aura and ordered the bear to get lost. Despite its enormous stature, the beast obediently scrambled away like a scolded pup. Hana threw a sharp glare as it disappeared into the distance. Meanwhile, Yuji lounged in the Demon Bureau's office. Kao absent-mindedly played with an aura swirling around his finger, yawning out of boredom. Suddenly, the telephone rang. Another member, Yuki, picked it up, then turned to the group as he announced their new mission. Yuki narrated the situation. Numerous deaths, seemingly caused by a cunning fox spirit. A creepy image of the fox spirit formed in their minds. With no higher-ups intervening, they had to lure the fox spirits out themselves. In the car, Yuji sat silently, lost in deep thought. Yuki noticed this, and asked him why he was so quiet all of a sudden. Yuji, having pieced things together, realized that the survival simulator wasn't just about Hana's attempts at murdering him. Meanwhile, Hana sat inside a cave, holding a red crystal in her hands. Back to Yuji, a simulation window popped up in front of him. He clicked on it, initiating the simulation to scope out the situation. He gained another talent, Swordsman Apprentice, which boosted his efficiency in mastering sword techniques. According to the simulation, they arrived at the mission site and immediately began their investigation. Before they could react, they were surrounded by a pink mist and fell unconscious. The simulation ended in failure. Yuji remained silent, analyzing the situation. The first thing he considered was the pink mist, which appeared to have mind-controlling abilities. Another alarming detail was the villagers' behavior. They seemed to be harboring a secret and feared something lurking among them. Lastly, they had spotted a suspicious mountain but chose not to investigate it, which Yuji found strange. Panic crept into him as he recalled Yuki's disappearance and the sudden pink mist that led to their deaths. Suddenly, Yuki snapped him out of his trance, saying he has been calling him forever, and was about to slap him. Even Yuji flinched, to which Yuki replied that he didn't even laid a finger on him yet. Yuji, still shaken, revealed what he saw in the simulation. 1 death and 2 disappearances. Yuki nearly spat out his drink in shock. They asked what exactly did he see. Yuji explained that the mission would end with Yuki disappearing without anyone even catching a glimpse of their enemies. Kao commented that they were lucky the whole team didn't get wiped out. Yuji also reported seeing the swirling pink mist in the simulation. Yuki's expression turned serious, explaining that the pink mist is commonly used by fox spirits. Their vehicle continued along the road to their mission site. Since the simulator hadn't fully cooled down yet, Yuji used another attempt. This time, he gained a mental resilience ability, allowing him to resist illusions and mind control. The simulation revealed the villagers' vitality was being drained. Following, 2 sneaky villagers led Yuji's team to a castle, where they were discovered and fought back. But a deadly array wiped out the entire village, ending in total failure. Yuji now had a clearer picture. Their enemies weren't overwhelmingly strong, but they had dangerous trump cards. Meanwhile, at the castle that appeared in Yuji's simulation, a woman named Lisa lounged on her throne, her legs crossed elegantly. A subordinate paid her respects to her. Lisa asked what was the matter. The subordinate reported that reinforcements from several special departments were heading to the village. Lisa dismissed the report, thinking they're just a bunch of folks without any special powers. With that, the alluring demoness leaned back, intrigued by what Yuji and his group might do next. They arrived in the afternoon at a village with towering mountains behind it. Yuji checked his phone and discussed their plan. He then told them that he needed them to lay out small interference formations on certain places he pointed on the map. Kao, impressed, praised the setup and agreed confidently. Yuji asked if Kao can handle it, to which he confidently agreed. Yuji and Yuki got back in the car, while some villagers watched them warily as they drove off. At the police station, 2 officers asked if they were sent by the Demon Bureau. Yuji and Yuki showed their credentials and requested to see the body. Yuki was escorted to the morgue, while Yuji inquired about the castle on the mountain. He was shocked to learn it wasn't just a castle. The villagers had become devoted followers and even built a church for it after the weekly check-in event. As Yuji took notes, 2 frail men spied on them, reporting back via phone. Lisa ordered them to monitor and report anything unusual. They bowed deeply, vowing to obey. Meanwhile, Hana visited Lisa's castle 2 days ago, startling the demoness. Lisa frantically made excuses, claiming she was only spreading their religion. Hana tapped her fingers on the throne, pouting at Lisa's rambling. She wasn't even aware of what Lisa was talking about. Suddenly, she leaped in front of Lisa, who was still kneeling. She didn't care about their plans, but warned that if anyone, especially Yuji, died, so would they. Lisa bowed deeply, swearing to comply. Hana then vanished into pink mist. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Duncan, acknowledging Hana's power and insight. Lisa then ordered him to break the barrier and alter its formation. He agreed but asked her if they were truly abandoning everything. Lisa, now composed, said they had no choice as they had been noticed by Hana and the Bureau. She focused on completing the sacrificial ceremony to ascend as a count. Duncan bowed, pledging loyalty. He then reported their enchanted eggs were running low, pissing off Lisa. She whined about their dwindling resources and urged to save on expenses. Meanwhile, Yuji and Yuki examined the corpse that looked far older than its actual age. It was as if he was drained of life by some monster. Yuki noted traces of vitality still lingered. Yuji lowered his mask, declaring that breaking the formation was their top priority. Suddenly, Yuki sensed something beginning. Outside, Duncan held a blood-red sword, releasing a powerful pink aura. His fangs protruded as he unleashed more energy. With a roar, he transformed into a massive red demon, boastfully spreading his wings. Hovering, he raised his sword, revealing an ominous magic formation. Yuki peered through a scope, deciding they wouldn't need Kao's formation. Suddenly, an immense wave of evil energy was felt. It was coming from the formation. Duncan, with his evil grin, raised his sword. He was about to unleash a powerful slash, but a hand suddenly stopped the attack on track. It was Yuki, effortlessly holding the sword with his fingertips. Duncan wanted to hang himself as he was confused about what was going on. Yuki smirked, flaunting his blue flames, asking if Duncan dared use fire formation against a fire elemental. Duncan was enraged as he felt humiliated by what he deemed as insignificant ants. Yuji, observing, noted the demon's fury. Duncan lunged, roaring. Yuki, hands in his pockets, smirked at the demon's persistence. He dodged elegantly. But Duncan wasn't aiming for him, he was targeting Yuji. Yuki realized too late and shouted for Yuji to move. An explosion erupted and Yuki's desperate cry echoed. Yuji took a direct hit from the red demon's attack. Smiling, he pledged his life for Lisa's glory. A massive explosion ensued, shaking the area near the castle. It was so powerful that it reached Lisa as she relaxed on her balcony. It was as if her brain malfunctioned for a few seconds, then asked what the hell was Duncan risking his life for. She then shook off her thoughts and flew off to check. A sudden blue flame shot at her midair, but she was able to dodge. Yuki looks calm on the surface, but was actually mad about Yuji's death. Hovering, Lisa claimed she wanted no part in their affairs, but Yuki ignored her, unleashing more of his fiery blue flames. It flew directly toward Lisa, to which she barely evaded. Yuki then opened his arms, exuding powerful blue flames of destruction. In response, Lisa unleashed her pink mist. Yuki braced himself, threatening her, but Lisa dismissed it and charged forward anyway. As she extended her sword to stab Yuki, something caught her attention, a brick flying straight toward them. It hit Yuki in the face, shocking both of him and the demoness. Yuji stood, his body smoking hot from the attack he received. He then collapsed while Yuki caught him. Lisa felt relieved to see Yuji alive, since Hana would have killed her otherwise. She then turned to flee. Yuji, enduring his injuries, asked Yuki for a favor. Thinking she had won, Lisa activated the sacrificial ritual. A surge of energy swirled from her body, but her energy drained away instead of gaining power. Stunned, Yuji thanked her for the free boost. She demanded an explanation, and Kao smugly revealed he altered the formation, forcing her to transfer energy to Yuji instead of taking it. A barrier was then conjured, trapping her. She screeched, struggling, only to get smashed with another brick. He carried the unconscious Lisa, while Yuki and Kao fetched a restraint. Left alone with the succubus, Yuji feared Hana's wrath if she found out. Inside the car, Lisa woke and saw Yuji on his phone. She tried sneaking out, but Yuji's keen senses didn't let her off. Giving up, she sat quietly. He was still on his phone, seemingly not minding her. Then, in a sweet and seductive voice, she asked if she can step outside. Yuji opened the door, telling her to go. Shocked, she stepped out, then turned to Yuji with her eyes glowing pink. She ordered him to come. Yuji obeyed, delighting Lisa as she commanded him to remove her shackles. She was wearing a cute expression as she awaited his compliance, but Yuji was holding a brick. She then hit her in the head, knocking her out. He called his comrades, asking them to hurry. In no time, Lisa woke up with her face slammed on the ground. Yuji mocked her, asking her about the dirt's taste. Furious, she attacked, but he dodged effortlessly. Lisa barely touched the talisman Hana gave Yuji. She then fell to the ground again, earning her another mockery from Yuji. But instead of anger, she stared at his necklace hanging around his neck. She knew that Hana went through hell for that tooth, yet it was in Yuji's hands. Blushing, she realized Hana had a love life too, leaving Yuji confused. Yuji held the talisman Hana gave him, a fang of Lisa's vampiric witch sister Ryla. He was puzzled by a vampire and succubus being sisters. Lisa offered to reveal the Spender family's ultimate secret if he helped her take down Ryla. Instead, Yuji tucked the talisman away, then hit Lisa with a brick at the back of her head. He then deduced that Hana's previous injury might be from Lisa. Kao and Yuki returned with the necessary equipment, revealing formation discs etched with an array before Yuji. They then headed to the Demon Bureau. There, Foxy whined about being left out, but Yuji reminded her she was busy gaming. They reported to Suzu as they brought back the unconscious Lisa. Suzu clapped, commending them. He suggested fraud awareness sessions despite capturing the culprit, then Suzu advised him to report all findings promptly next time. When Yuji asked about the Spender family, Suzu revealed they could transform humans into supernatural beings. She added that they can change into eldritch versions of any race. Seeing the secret of Spender family coming to light, Suzu deduced a brewing storm ahead. Meanwhile, in a remote cave, mouse spirits were seemingly doing transactions with the Kookings, but they had refused their request for intel and threw in a bag of money. They told them not to see each other again, ending their deal. The Kookings were stunned, then ordered Little 12 to finish things. The mouse spirits were hesitantly planning to keep half the energy crystals. When asked if the Kookings would let them be after this, one of them proceeded to insult them, but the insult to the Kookings was cut short by a scream. In no time, a Kooking had already slaughtered them. Little 12 stood unapologetic, saying that deceivers deserved their deaths. At the office, Yuji received a telephone call. He picked it up, then reported the sightings of 3 dead rat folk, prompting Suzu to join the investigation. At the cave entrance, she noted it didn't resemble a typical ratfolk tunnel. She then sent Yuji to scout the entrance for clues. Finding traces around, he realized this wasn't an ordinary case. Elsewhere, a shadowy figure among the Kookings asked if the rat folks were taken out. One Kooking can be seen teary-eyed as demanded death for those deceitful beings. The shadowy figure then held one of them in the head. The Kookings were frightened and asked the figure not to hit them. The shadowy figure then ordered them to eliminate the rat folks, tossing red pills and telling them to grow strong. As the Kookings hesitated, he urged them to take the pills, revealing the Demon Bureau had discovered their passageway and they've been deemed useless. With an evil expression, he told them to become part of the grand gift as their last worth. The Kookings' eyes turned crimson, they seemed in pain as they transformed. Slumped under a tree, Yuji ran a simulation, gaining the Feng Shui master talent to help him sense energy flow. The vision showed Kookings becoming crimson-eyed fiends, massacring them, with a black-cloaked man present at Yuji's final moment. Awakening, he told Foxy what he saw. The fox panicked, asking for the appearance of the shadowy figure. Deep inside, she was fearing over Hana's wrath if Yuji ever died. She asked if the man was truly terrifying, to which he confirmed and revealed he can control the Kookings. She then mentioned Hana's critical condition, leading Yuji to suspect her injuries were from the cloaked man instead. Foxy confirmed the vampire was strong, but Hana was stronger. The talisman around her neck was a trophy from that battle. However, the cloaked figure matched Hana's strength, with both sustaining injuries in a clash. Suddenly, a familiar voice startled Foxy. It was Hana, emerging from the bushes, cutely embarrassed as she greeted Yuji. He picked a leaf off her forehead, then greeted her back. Flustered by Yuji's gesture, Hana clarified that she wasn't here for him, but for something important. Foxy, dazzled by their interaction, put on his sunglasses. Hana revealed the man in black was after an altar in ancient ruins. She told them she'll be gathering intel, earning a head pat from Yuji, who then praised her growth. Yuji prepared to leave for Suzu and told Hana not to disappear and to find them later. Hana blushed, calling him more charming than ever. He went inside, admiring the interior of the cave. Suzu and the others noticed him. Then Foxy reported to Suzu that Hana would arrive soon. Suddenly, a long-haired blonde man appeared. Suzu drew her sword. The man dashed toward her, claiming he wasn't an enemy. He explained that their goals align with each other, and that he was just there to meet his comrades soon. Flashily, he moved behind her in an instant, warning that the real enemy was behind them. An ominous, humanoid monster emerged from behind. The squad prepared for the impending battle. The humanoid monster prepared to attack, but Suzu immediately stabbed it. However, her sword barely managed to scratch it. Seeing that it's immune to physical attacks, she switched to utilize her lightning magic. Dark clouds and electric blitzes accumulated over the monster's head. Suzu cast her heavenly thunder magic, summoning an enormous bolt of lightning that hit the monster directly. It fell to the ground, smoking hot and defeated as Yuji knelt beside it. The monster's outer shell cracked, revealing a scarred human face appeared underneath. Yuji seemed alarmed. Suzu interjected, emphasizing the dire need to prioritize uncovering the enemy's true intentions. Meanwhile, the blonde man seemed to have been surprised by the sudden appearance of Hana. He raised his hand, trembling in fear as he told her he meant no harm. Hana responded with a shoulder pat, showing zero interest in whatever their plans were. She then glared at the man menacingly, intimidating it. The man trembled as she remarked about him being useless and took the feathers from him. Hana then walked on her way. As she reached her destination, she raised her feet, stomping at the center of the floor. The floor broke, revealing a part of the formation array. Hana stood over it. A blood ritual was within her expectation. She then sprinted, knowing that danger looms around Yuji. Inside, Suzu told her team that she just heard the sound of wings flapping. A feather fell, dancing in the air. It was from a mysterious man with red wings and hair, whole body and face covered with bandages. Yuji whipped out his dagger, skeptical of the man's identity. The man didn't respond and instead raised his finger, forming light on his fingertips. The walls behind Yuji suddenly broke, startling him. Yuji immediately called for everyone to gather around him. He then activated his Feng Shui skill, conjuring protective walls around the whole team. Charms were unleashed and there were explosions of energy on the wall. Kao was holding his charms, then threw it at the bandaged, winged man. With his dagger, Yuji lunged and declared it's showtime. He activated his skill, Backstab, successfully piercing through the man's chest. Suzu performed her hand signs, electricity blitzing around her. Thunderbolts then began encircling the bandaged winged man and hit him, sending him kneeling on the floor with his wings destroyed. Foxy said that there's no way he survived that attack, but then the man began exuding yellow energy around him. Seeing this, Suzu learned that he's from the Phoenix clan. He was engulfed in his own flame as Suzu revealed that he's currently in a state of nirvana. As the flames calmed down, the image of a naked man was spat, with its bandages from before gone. Kao recalls that the man's rebirth should snap him out of his berserk state, but Suzu advised him to stay on guard. With a peculiar smile on his face, he asked them if they were the ones who brought him into a state of nirvana. Kao responded with another question, asking if he's going to thank them for it. The man raised his hands and summoned fireballs, saying he's grateful but has nothing nice to give them since they were from the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. Dodging its fiery destruction, Yuji asked about the man's connection with the guy in black robe. The Phoenix man replied it was just for business, expressing his dislike against them. Yuji looked at Foxy, telling her it's time to play his trump card. Foxy confidently stood in his shoulders, telling Yuji that she'll face the Phoenix guy as per his request. Foxy closed his eyes and was seemingly about to unleash a special attack. Then, at the top of her lungs, she yelled for Hana's name and asked for help, surprising the whole team. The Phoenix man was also startled as it hovered in the air, remarking about their late reinforcements. He proceeded to tell them that he'll incinerate their reinforcement, not knowing she was ominously standing behind him. Yuji sighed, pitying the Phoenix man for what's about to happen. However, the Phoenix man seemed to be still unaware of what's happening. Foxy spoke from behind him, calling him a bold red rooster. Surprised, he reflexively attacked, but Hana was too fast for him. From above, Hana was crouching at the ceiling and lunged at the man. Her punch directly hit him in the back, sending him face first to the ground. Hana stepped behind the Phoenix man, who was hurting and asking who was she. Yuji slammed his signature brick against the man's head, telling it to pipe down. Yuji assured that the man won't move anymore, while Hana plucked out his feathers. Cheerfully holding a piece of his wings, Hana asked Yuji which part fancies him the most. He held his chin and suggested they take them all down and pick at their own pace. Hana gleefully nodded, agreeing with Yuji. The villain seemed to be the victim, as the two mercilessly plucked his feathers. The rest of them watched Yuji and Hana in disbelief. She then threw a piercing glare, leading Foxy to confirm she was indeed Hana. Helpless, Foxy had to head back as Hana called her a third wheel. As they left, Hana asked Yuji for the tooth on his neck. Yuji immediately complied and gave it to her. She then pulled a scalpel and engraved something on it. With his knife, Yuji did the same to the ruby he was holding. Hana had finished, revealing the necklace's beautiful design. He reached for it. Then he also handed the ruby accessory he made, surprising Hana. He revealed he's been wanting to give it to her for ages. Hana blushed as she thanked Yuji. She then raised her hands, attempting to put the necklace on his neck. Yuji leaned back, teasing Hana for being short, but she wasn't very patient and unleashed a destructive punch to his gut, sending him trembling and kneeling to the ground. Hana then asked him what was going on about his situation, to which Yuji confirmed he does. She asked if he has anything to say, to which he replied with a head pat and questioned if she was the Hana he knew. Hana declared of course it was her. Yuji smiled as he told her that she must already know of his ability and asked when might he found out that she was a zombie. Hana realized that he knew from the beginning. They continued on their way to the altar. As they reached the place, they were greeted by silhouettes performing a blood ritual. Yuji whipped out his gun. Hana, her claw as a battle, was about to take place.